Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, the guest is ready. My name is John Peckman. I'm the host of the John Peckman Podcast, coming to you from Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance in beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, start looking left. If you're watching us on YouTube by any chance, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we are here with a new friend that I've met for minutes. It's been minutes by now, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Trevor Davis Jr. He is a drummer. And not only that, he is a owner of a recording studio called the Library Studio. Is that correct?
That's right.
Middletown, Connecticut, over the bridge. So do you want to tell us maybe a little bit about the studio to start, and then we'll
Sure.
get into your whole the musical journey and where it started.
Thank you, John.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's more of a video studio than an audio, but it's capable of audio also.
I see.
And the way it started was COVID. It's definitely
really?
a silver lining. In March of COVID, 18 months ago, my son ditched New York and New Jersey because his videography and photography business dried up.
Oh boy.
And
Before the pandemic.
right as it was coming
Right.
in,
Yeah. Sure.
things were shutting down. And at the same month of March, the Hartford Jazz Society contacted me and said, we're not going to do our Monday night Bushnell Park Paul Brown jazz concerts outside, but we'd like to keep them going and live stream them. May we use your studio?
Gotcha.
So I said, well, can you use my son Trey as a videographer? They said yes.
Hey.
So it was.
It's all who you know. It's who you know.
It was a convergence of many things,
Yeah, that's cool.
And so this room in the back of a building that I own and I've been trying to lease up. I said, well, I'm not going to lease this room up anymore. We're going to use it. And it really has fabulous acoustics because of it's a block wall, so it's not
cool.
like drywall.
Sure.
They don't move. So
Yep.
the fabulous acoustics. It's got this beautiful old cherry wood library on one end, and
Nice.
and so it's a great backdrop.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Hartford Jazz Society came and did one concert a week. And we had 4 or 5 players, 3 or 4 crew,
Wow.
and we kept it as safe as we could, COVID-wise, with masks and everything else, and so it's been fabulous. They have live streamed it through their Hartford Jazz Society Facebook page and
Wow.
YouTube channel, and now we've started doing other events, and may I plug the latest event?
Please.
This Sunday. It is a collaboration of a couple things. I better get this right here. Matt Chasen is actually the promoter, bringing the Hartford Jazz Society and the Library Studio with Hartford meets New Haven. So there's going to be a lot of New Haven jazz players.
Nice.
And it's going to be a celebration of the 2021 autumnal equinox.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're going to have 4 bands Sunday afternoon starting at 2:15. And for the first time, we're going to have about 15 audience members
Oh, cool.
as
Cool.
a tryout. So
Yeah.
we can actually fit 49 people total.
Oh,
there.
nice. You're going to start off smallish.
We're going to start small, and it's free. So if people want to actually come and be part of an intimate studio live concert,
Sure.
they can find out through the Hartford Jazz Society will have that up.
Okay. Maybe we'll put it. Maybe we'll put a link too. I think this may be up before then.
Okay.
So we'll try to get this
I
up
see.
before then and put
Gotcha.
a link, just in case people want to check it out.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah. As long as we don't swear, then there's no post-production, and then everything stays on track. So we'll
I'll
try
try to
not
make it easy.
I heard your foul mouth earlier, so we'll try to keep it. I'm just kidding.
That was Dave.
Exactly. Cool. Did you had the studio before?
Well, it was a room that I had been trying to lease.
So they approached you and said, "Could you do this in this space?"
Right.
And
In
then
my
you
real
assembled
life,
the studio.
I'm a commercial real estate broker. I'm
Okay.
Trevor Davis Commercial Real Estate, and And so the building, it's in the Webster Bank building, right downtown Middletown at 363 Main.
Okay.
And I hadn't been able to lease it. The rest of the building is all leased with Webster Bank and a bunch of wonderful small tenants. But this space I hadn't, and I've had parties there and music and jams.
I see.
And but we never got really serious until Hartford Jazz
And
Society.
you must have hopped to it pretty quick.
Well, it didn't need much. However, we do something new in it every week. We just added curtains, and then there's an adjoining room that would make a fabulous control room. And yeah, we're actually looking for a partner that would be an audio partner so that we could do a real recording studio, because although my son could do that, he can't do three things at once. So,
Right, sure.
So yeah, but it's fun. It's
well, he clearly doesn't play drums. You're the drummer. You could do three things. You could do four things at once.
That's
and sing. You could probably do five things at once.
Well, no, I can't sing, but no, it's also been nice because it's given me a great place to rehearse some bands, and I'm still playing 5 or 6 different bands.
Oh wow, cool!
A few different Dixieland bands, and
Nice.
A couple jazz bands, and rock and country when it's wanted. So it's a fun place to have, and it's
So it's
given
like
me.
turning into a hub, kind of like a.
Well, I hope so. Yeah.
Couple different things you could do there.
Yeah, it's also given me an excuse to purchase some great vintage drums too, and so that
Yeah.
we have some,
Get a nice house kit. Like an old.
and I have a great old Gretsch set for the jazz drummers that love to come and play in
Nice.
the early '60s.
I like to check those out.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
And recently got a Black Beauty that you're gonna have to come over, John, and check out.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've never had one. I never even
haven't
really
either.
worked out on one for very long. I'd like to check it out, see what all the fuss is.
I wasn't quite sure until I got it ready to play it, and it sounds as great as it looks,
Oh, cool. All right.
which is amazing for a 1930s Ludwig
Ooh. Yeah.
drum.
I like to check that out. That's pretty cool. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you got a whole bunch of stuff. So are you still doing the series, doing the jazz band series?
We were the rain location for this summer's Bushnell Park, but it never rained on Monday, so they wanted to try it there so they could live stream it instead of doing it at their
Right.
interior, which people never came to it. So, but now they're the board of the Hartford Jazz Society is trying to figure out what they're going to do through the winter, and they'll probably end up doing hopefully one live stream a month like they did last winter.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Why not, right? It worked out.
Yeah, and we've been getting some substantial. We get 100 to 200 people watching it live, and then a couple days later, it's a couple thousand. So,
Hey,
yeah.
okay. That's great. That's more people. Well, maybe, who knows? It's probably more people than would be sitting down live in front of it.
Yes, except at Bushnell Park,
Right.
it's a fabulous
Sure,
venue, and
sure.
people come out for that because they've been doing it for over 50 years. And
Right.
I went to a couple of them this summer, and there's over 2,000 people.
Yeah,
out there.
right. That's cool.
It's fabulous.
That's awesome.
Oh,
I've never been. Can you imagine? All the years.
Make that on your list for next summer.
Yeah, I think I will. I definitely will. That's cool. How did you get involved with that society? I would imagine that you probably played. Do you want to tell us how you?
It's really through Steve Ballmer, who is a fabulous bass player that I play with very often, and he's on the board, and he had seen this space, and so he was the one that said,
Hey,
yeah.
Trevor's got a spot.
He's one of the best bass players in Connecticut, and he can play jazz or rock or big band or symphony and shows or tuba.
Oh wow! So Mr. Bass Clef, that's it.
Yes.
He's got it covered.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He's a great guy.
Can he
too.
play sousaphone?
Oh,
Yeah, of course, probably.
I'll bet.
Tuba. That's kind of cool. Imagine that. rock and roll band with a tuba. You ever do that? Get that? Make that?
Well, most of the Dixieland bands have tubas.
Sure.
But a lot of New Orleans bands have tubas also, and that's coming pretty close to rock and roll.
Yeah, right. You're saying that. That's pretty cool. Imagine that. Do you want to tell us about your drumming? Do you want to go back to the beginning? How you got involved with music at all?
Yeah, well, I guess it was because of three Bakers.
Ooh, okay.
Of course, Ginger Baker was inspiring. And John Baker was a friend of mine that lived a couple blocks away, and he was a drummer, and he got me interested in actually
drumming. Is this
drumming.
in Middletown? Grew up?
No, in Orange.
Okay.
And John Baker was the first drummer with, I think, 8 to the Bar, but certainly Greasy Fred and the New Haven Stompers.
Have to look it up. Yeah.
But great drummer, wonderful guy. Began as a rudimental drummer, which I did not, so I don't have those chops. And then the third Baker was just my old buddy Kent Baker, who he and I would listen to music for hours and hours. Led Zeppelin first album and that kind of stuff, and just got into the appreciation of music.
Yeah.
Which it's still amazing what it does to our brains and bodies.
You got that right. Yep, that's for sure. Do you consider yourself, I don't know, Dave said, I didn't know, that you're primarily a jazz drummer or no?
No, because I grew up playing rock, and even though most people now know me as a jazz drummer, I still think I'm faking it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, hey, me too. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but I've got to give credit to a real tuba player, Art Hovey, who is Connecticut's tuba player, who's played in the Galvanized Jazz Band for 50 years. He invited me into a band for the last 3 or 4 years where the guys weren't really seasoned players, but he needed a drummer just to keep time, and I could do that. But that has allowed me to go deeper into the Dixieland, meaning a lot of the press rolls and just bass drum and snare drum, because in the 20s, the drum set didn't have tom-toms.
That's right.
They didn't even have big cymbals.
Yeah.
They had a splash cymbal and maybe a hi-hat or a low sock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I've really got to thank Art for having me in this band where I really have learned a lot more about the Dixieland drums instead of, again, just faking it.
That's cool. What's your source? Recommend some things to listen to.
His old the repertoire.
Yeah.
And he will tell me which of the old players' versions to find on YouTube.
Okay.
Which is an amazing resource.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
I mean, 50 years ago, when we were learning songs, you remember what we had to do: get a record, record it onto a cassette, and then the other 10 songs, and then make copies of the cassette and pass that around to the whole band. Well, now you just go on YouTube and you call out any version of any song. It's so easy.
Yeah, I know. It's funny you think about it. It is quite a thing. In a way, I don't know if this matters, but it would seem like a very slow death of regionalism in music in a way. Like if you can imagine back then, you only played how the fellas played in the neighborhood. Do you know what I mean? So you would have to go to New Orleans to hear, and now you can just, you can hear, which is both good and bad.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's definitely a plus side to having this technology, but there's a downside, and even this COVID thing, there's a plus and there's a down.
Sure.
And that is the people that like to go out and actually see live and hear live music, they're going to go out. But are there more people who now have gotten lazy because they didn't know they can sit in their armchair and watch on their iPad that stuff, even live or whatever? But I hope people come to appreciate that there's nothing like live music being there.
I think that the truth is somewhere in the middle. It seems in my experience, since gigs have kind of come back, people who the people who care are the only ones that are there. So it might be, you know what I mean? Like more quality, less quantity.
Yeah.
People who really do value it are turning out for it, which I guess, I don't know. I'd rather play for people that actually are more into it than just general riff-raff or however you want to put it. But
yeah, I know what you mean, and that does make sense. But I remember back in the early 70s when the baby boomers were still in their 20s and going out not 1 or 2 nights a week, but 6 or 7 nights a week.
Because drinking age was 18 and no DUI laws.
And the clubs were all full most of the time. And now that's really hard to get. And that's a very different dynamic when you're playing, as you know, John.
Yep. Yeah, I just missed it. You know, like when I made the scene, that it was just kind of over. And I just rode the comet tail, you know, right at the end. So
that's all right.
Well,
once you're playing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I feel like I definitely got my hours in. But, you know, but I would always hear about, oh, man, you should have seen it. You know what I mean? That's all you know.
It's always better in our memories anyway.
Or maybe, yeah, that might be true too.
Partly.
Yeah, that's cool. So, who was your first drumming inspiration? Just say.
I think it was Ginger Baker, but you know, back then it was more the rock drummers, and now as I get older, I see the talent in the other drummers, the Gene Krupa, who was the first real star drummer, and was responsible for tunable tom-toms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
In the 20s, drum sets were well, let's go even before that. Bands used to have a guy carrying a bass drum and whomping it with one hand, and a snare drummer marching. It was Mr. Ludwig who invented the bass drum pedal.
And so 50% of drummers were out of work just like that.
and technology does that.
Sure.
But so then a drummer could sit and with a pedal on the bass drum and snare drum, and then they added these things. And do you know, John, what trap set means? Where that word trap
not
comes
exact
from?
Not I think, but I'll tell you if you tell me, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
They of course, I'm talking more about a drummer in a pit playing a show or something. He had to have contraptions.
Right. I was thinking the word contraption.
So all these bells and wood blocks and all these wonderful little instruments, and which they would attach to the bass drum.
Yeah, duck call, whatever.
Yeah, and one of the things that they put on were these Chinese toms.
Right.
And I have a nice collection of those now.
Oh, I got
studio. You have
the non-tunable. I get where you're
right.
going.
They're tacked on.
Sure, tacked on. Yeah.
Well, Gene Krupa went to Slingerland and said, "Why don't you make me some toms that are tunable like my bass and snare drum?" So that's why he really deserves credit.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So toms, wow. Were those Chinese toms? Are they loud?
No.
Yeah, that's what I always wondered.
Yeah.
That's what I always wondered. So you're like hitting that snare, and then you go to that tom.
Right.
Yeah.
And now they're of course they're painted beautifully, so you don't even want to hit them.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So then it becomes more like a drum, more like a snare drum with no snares or whatever.
Right. Now, then the toms become, well, he could not have done Sing, Sing, Sing on a Chinese tom.
And then we wouldn't exist.
That's
right. Yeah, our whole, that's where it begins. That's kind of wild. Was the first tunable tom single-headed, double-headed?
Probably single, but I don't know for sure.
That's interesting. Wow, that's kind of cool. I actually didn't know that. So Gene Krupa, and then play Sing, 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 and then everyone goes, why do make that sound? Why doesn't your drum sound like that?
Right.
And everybody makes toms. That's cool.
Yep.
That's kind of wild. What about the sock symbol? What about so somebody
Well, and before they had the
now
sock
the cymbal
symbol.
players are out of work now.
Right.
The original automation. Yeah.
And before they invented the low sock or
Sure.
the low hi-hat or
Sure,
hi-hat,
sure.
they attached the cymbal to the bass drum,
Right.
and there was a little dinger that you would attach to the foot pedal that would hit the cymbal at the
Right,
same time,
right.
which didn't give you the offbeat
Mhm.
like we have now with the left foot. But yeah, it's amazing to get into the evolution
I know,
of the
it's kind
drums.
of wild.
Mhm.
Now, here's what I wonder. So you got your low sock. Who's the first person to go, hey, fellas, put it up here, hit it with a stick? They probably burned him at the stake. They were like, what are you doing? You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Great question, John. I don't have the answer
That's
for that one.
amazing. Imagine that person. That,
yeah.
Like you're saying, they're just people looking at it going, hey, bass drum pedal. How
And
about?
I have some early ones,
I need
and you
one.
can see that it would be really easy to knock over.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Not stable.
Yeah, I have kind of like it's not. So I've had an old, it's a 28-inch old. I think it's an old Ludwig. Somebody years ago said, "Dude, my neighbor has something out at the trash, and it's like an old
Bass drum.
bass drum with an original muffler in front that
Oh, yeah.
looks like the cymbal, but it isn't. It's actually the
Yep.
muffler." And so I've had that forever, and I used to kind of keep it around as nice. And then over the years, I slowly, they're not appropriate, but I have like maybe a 50s Slingerland practice or student model. But anyway, I'm building a ragtime kit.
Oh, nice.
I have the bass drum over there and the snare, but they're not appropriate. But I got an old cymbal, and I found it's just LP, but I found the way to mount it on the bass drum so it's kind of there. And I actually found a ratchet, an old-time ratchet.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm kind of getting there. I got a little thing going. Old ride cymbal, no hi-hats yet. So
Well,
I'd like to find something.
Come on
yeah.
over to the studio.
Yeah.
have
We'll
some
get
fun.
into it. Yeah, we'll get into it.
But yeah, and that's what I've done is now I now have a different set that I use for my Dixieland bands.
Right.
With a 26-inch bass drum. It's a narrow one. It's only 10 or 12 inches.
Okay. Wow.
But it still gives you that lower thump. And
Yeah.
I still use that muffler that attaches to it
Mm-hmm.
because some
Yeah, you just swing it. It's
some,
mine is like
some rooms you need more muffling, some rooms you don't. So I've been using that even on my 20-inch bass drum for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of cool. That's awesome. All right. So, what was the leap from Ginger Baker, rocking it out, to Dixieland?
Oh,
Did that
many
happen?
steps.
Did that happen like that?
No,
So I'll tell you the story how I went. I played Dixieland in a moment,
Mm-hmm.
but that's later because of Dave. That's just
Okay.
crazy.
Well, there were a bunch of little steps, but the big step was in my last year of high school. Late, must have been in the spring. I tried out, auditioned for and got into a band called Ombre,
Okay.
where I was 17 and most of the guys were 23. And
Best way to do it.
yeah, and so here I am. I'm thrust into this, and these guys have been playing for years, and then I go to college, Central Connecticut State College at the time it was called, not university.
Right. That's someone else that was saying that. Yeah.
And by the time I was going to school in September, we were playing 5 nights a week,
Right.
and a couple months later, we were billed as Connecticut's most popular dance band or something
Sure,
like
sure,
that, and playing David's in Manchester and Sweet Williams or whatever it was called then in Middletown and all the New Haven places and down in Fairfield County and all over the place. And it was a wonderful way for me to rack up the hours
Sure.
playing.
Sure.
And that band had some great players, including George Smith, who you
Sure.
know is G.E.
Yep.
Smith.
Yep.
What a fabulous band leader. And then that band broke up, and I ended up saying I want to get more serious about music. So I went up to Johnson State College in Vermont
Okay.
and woodshed for a year, playing big band music, learning how to read, learning those rudiments,
Mm-hmm.
and enjoyed playing jazz and as well as rock and all kinds of stuff. And after a year of that, I was itching because there weren't that many players up there then. Again,
Sure.
this is 75, 6. So I came back here and started playing with a lot of different bands, freelancing and working at Guitars Unlimited, managing the drum department and playing with all kinds of bands, from Portuguese wedding bands to Michael Bolton or Boloton back then.
Sure. Yep.
And that was fun. And then somehow I auditioned for this crummy little band called Fountainhead.
Oh, what? Did you know this? It's all. Yeah, eventually. Yeah, we discover this more and more. And everybody knows it.
But at that point, I was doing more than playing. I was managing and booking bands, and
okay.
So I got into the band, and we were making $175 a night at the Rocking Horse or the Other Horse.
Sure.
Manchester.
Sounds good.
Hartford.
Are they still hiring? That's not. I'd do that right now. That sounds good.
What?
Were you before Gordy?
Gordy.
I was before Gordy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I started booking the band and start negotiating
Wow.
and we all. I mean, the leader Kenny Griffin was fabulous at leading the band and picking songs, and we got to the top of the Connecticut scene basically because they were pushing drinking beer and stuff like that.
Sure.
And the club owners would say, "Oh, we love you guys because your
you're
customers
selling drinks.
drink 33% more."
That's
So
good.
so I said, "Okay, well, next time we play here, we'll need a little more." And then we recruited the Johnny Frizzell from Little Village.
Yep. Sure.
And and we got up to like $850 a night.
Nice. Were you in the band with Mark Couture? Do you know Mark
No,
Couture?
that was right after I left.
Okay.
And I continued to book them for a while, but that's when Gordy and I think Mark came at the same time.
Okay. Yeah. So could be.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, because Mark was from Little Village too. That's
Right. Right. Yeah. So the John Frizzell. There's kind of the crossover.
Right.
Yeah. So you're kicking it with Fountainhead.
Yeah, but that turned me off to playing. That was still when the clubs were smoky, and that's when I left music for a while, just because it was driving me crazy, just the lifestyle
Sure.
and stuff. But
Sure.
but I'm glad I didn't drop it, and I came back to it because I'm enjoying it more than ever now.
That's great. That's cool. Who was the first jazz drummer that you heard in your rock world that said, "Oh, hey, maybe let me try going down this road"? Can you remember? Or whatever music, like what?
Yeah, I don't think it was. I mean, jazz was always there, and I had always. Well, not always, but at least once I had gone to Johnson in Vermont and started listening more to the old stuff, the big bands and the smaller jazz. That's when I started listening to that, and then when I started playing it, it was so different because I was used to having to hit hard.
Sure.
And you develop your muscles to hit hard, and all of a sudden you have to play soft, and it's a completely different instrument.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
So that's something that I continue to learn, and other things that I continue to learn are, I always thought, well, there was only one place to be to where the beat is. But,
yeah.
But
sure.
maybe 10 years ago, I realized no, you could play ahead of the beat or behind the beat like a John Bonham.
Yeah.
And that you can really play with that, and it makes a huge difference. And so yeah, I'm still learning.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, me too. I mean, we always are. There's always something.
That's part of the fun of playing music.
Oh yeah, it never ends.
Right. You have to continually think and process and learn and make your mind work and your body work.
Yeah, it's my thing too. So I mean, I definitely get that. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
It's fun. We're lucky.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I definitely got enough hours into and still am into it. It never ends.
Yeah, and as I slow down in my real estate career, I'm really happy to be able to continue to play. And yeah, I think I was just telling Dave, I got to stay in shape just so I can carry my drums to the gig. And you know,
I know.
In a lot of these Dixieland bands, I'm the youngest guy.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'm playing with 90-year-old guys that are and some of them swing more than the young guys.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Some of them, absolutely.
Yeah, right. They're going for it.
Yeah, because it's for many that's keeping them alive.
Yeah,
they want to play.
Yeah. Where are the Dixieland gigs these days?
The Essex Corinthian Yacht Club has a band called the Essex Corinthian Dixieland Band, and we play there every other Wednesday during the summer, so that's gone now. And they also play at Bill's Seafood.
Oh, sure.
I've probably the winter seen that. Wednesdays.
Yep.
And then Art Hovey's band, which we now call the Central City Stompers.
Okay.
They're playing tomorrow night.
Oh, wow. Hey, that's cool.
Thursday night, yeah. And and I'll put a Dixieland band together for certain things. I had a 10-piece band ready to do a cruise on the Lady Catherine for the Valley Railroad or the Essex Steam Train and Riverboat on 4th of July, but the previous year, but COVID canceled that. So, and in fact, I do a lot of stuff on the Becky Thatcher, the smaller boat in Deep River that the steam train meets them.
Yep.
People get on, and I have a 4-piece jazz band there that's playing for the Cigar and Bourbon Cruise or the Wine and Chocolate Cruise. Wow. That's really fun. I ought to be playing on the river.
Oh, this is where it's supposed to be. Yeah.
You cannot beat that.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. That's definitely better than still trying to slug it out in bars. I think you probably did the right thing.
Yeah, I'm not playing at the bars that much anymore, and I don't miss it.
No.
As long as I get to play a couple times a month, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, that's cool. It's pretty wild. What's your main rig, drum wise, at this point?
Well, for the Dixieland, it's the 26-inch bass drum, and I have an old Slingerland snare drum that I put a wooden hoop on, so it's got a nice cross-sticking sound. And then for that, I put a cowbell and a wood block because they used a lot of wood block, especially for the softer instruments. So if the piano or the clarinet does a solo, I go to the wood block.
As opposed to the cowbell?
Well, no, if the sax or trumpet players take a solo, then I'll be doing a snare drum rolling, more of the rolling stuff that's the Dixieland style. And they didn't even use ride cymbals back then. So it's just
I better take my ride down of my little.
But if I go off with a jazz kit, then I just a 20-inch bass drum and a snare drum and two toms and two cymbals. But with the Dixieland, I always have a splash cymbal.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you gotta have that.
Yeah, just even just at the end.
Yep. You gotta have it.
Afterbeat.
Yeah. Otherwise, the song would never end. You'd still be playing the song. It would still be going. They're waiting for the at the end.
You're right.
It's kind of wild. It's pretty wild. All right, yeah. Wow. What else?
Well, the studio is kind of fun. As I mentioned, we have this concert this Sunday. We're going to have 4 jazz bands, and but what I'm hoping to do is to get my own music on there, because I haven't even tried to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to work on, is get some other bands of my own that I put together just to do a couple songs, and again have some people in for a live studio recording.
Right.
And then we can have a nice raw video and audio tape. That we can either put out raw or mix down, and
cool.
But yeah, I haven't used the studio yet for my own musical stuff.
Gotcha. So you have your sometimes you're the member of a band, and then now you're talking about doing your own thing, like you're the one
Leader.
putting it together, the leader.
Yeah, and I'm a leader of a band a lot, but that's usually live to make money. But to do something in the studio, it's just a matter of time. But in one sense, I regret that I didn't, because many musicians did take this COVID year as a woodshed year, time to practice and write and do stuff. And but I was too busy kind of putting the studio together and helping my son do that, and some real estate stuff too to keep going. But
and now you want to get back into the drumming.
I think, I owe it to myself to at least try to put some different bands together, just to do I see myself doing like 5 different genres.
Oh, really?
Like
what? Tell us what they would be.
Well, one would be Dixieland, one would be jazz, but one would be
you
rock
say jazz,
too.
You mean like small combo?
Small combo with a woman singer would really be nice, and some rock stuff, like some Kenny Loggins kind of stuff, where you'd have 6, 7 pieces, with a percussionist and stuff like that. And
sure.
I'm also a big fan of Paul Winter.
Wow, I don't know who that is. Who's Paul Winter?
Paul Winter is a soprano saxophone player up in Litchfield. He lives, but he's pretty old, but pretty young. But he started as a jazz sax player in the 50s. Played at the White House.
Okay.
And then went on a tour that Kennedy kind of gave them around the world as a ambassador of music.
Sure.
And kind of like what Dizzy Gillespie was doing in the 50s.
Yeah, Duke Ellington did that too.
Right. And I still think it's a fabulous formula for our country.
Yeah, well, we created jazz. That's our musical contribution.
Well, Paul created earth music. I mean, he took it, and he's the one that has taken whale sounds and developed songs out of that, or wolf calls, bird songs.
Wow!
But it's not corny. It's fabulous.
Sure.
And he's his usual group is a pianist and a cellist and percussion. Paul Winter. He's got 4 albums.
Okay.
40-something albums. One of my favorites is the one he created with the Russian singers, the Dmitry Pokrovsky singers, and that happened politically when Perestroika came, when Russia opened up. And I remember going to see a concert with Paul Winter concert and these Russian singers, and Paul's band started outdoors at the White Memorial Park in Litchfield, and then the band was playing, and then from over the hill came these Russian singers dressed in these Russian folk dresses and stuff. And this was the first time we had seen Russians.
Oh, wow.
And to combine the music with that sight was
that had never happened. You were seeing it
very
right
moving. It moves me just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But he's done that type of thing, including his Missa Gaia, the Earth Mass, which he's played at the United Nations. And so he's done fabulous things, and they aren't as visible, especially to the younger generations. And it's too bad, because he, in a sense, he really is trying to save the world, and God knows we need it more than ever.
Yeah,
right now.
right. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, well, that's
and he's
exciting.
right here in Litchfield.
Go figure.
Yeah.
I feel bad that I didn't know who he was. I'll have to figure it out.
Oh, you've heard of the winter solstice concerts at the Cathedral St. John the Divine. He does those every year. Right in New York, at 112th in Amsterdam, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you would do a Paul Winter, you'd like to collaborate with him or do a Paul Winter type of thing?
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, he and I have talked a lot about, and I'm also a concert promoter, so I've done that since I was 17 years old, and I've had the Paul Winter concert at First Church in Middletown.
Oh, wow.
Twice. We sold out in 1986.
Wow.
And that was over 1,000 people. And I should say a word about that. First Church on Court Street, downtown Middletown, is the largest venue or house in Middletown, bigger than the two Wesleyan.
Oh, wow.
Bigger than the Middletown High School
Huh.
venue. And actually, we just made some more room. We took some pews out so that the stage is bigger, but we can still fit 850 people.
Yeah, right.
And,
So it's
and that's a beautiful space, and it's a lovely sounding space,
Okay.
especially for something like Paul Winter. So I'm still hoping to do some concerts
So we
there
got
in the future.
a good venue in town.
It is, but the hardest thing is getting people to come out now. They don't come out as easy as they did in the 80s.
Sure. Well, I don't know. Maybe things will change a little bit. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, working on it. Yeah.
Now, another thing that that we're working on, one of my missions is to get Middletown a little bit more arts oriented.
Okay.
Even though there are a lot of different arts, from the Buttonwood Tree to
Yep.
Oddfellows Playhouse and all the stuff that happens up at Wesleyan.
Yep.
But this summer, Keisha Michael from the city's Arts and Culture Office asked me to help her produce their Summer Sounds concert series.
Oh, cool.
And so this summer we did 6 Thursday nights, and we changed it to Thursday from Tuesday, and we did it in Spear Park instead of on the South Green or on the riverfront. And Spear Park ended up being a wonderful new venue, thanks to the Middletown Housing Authority, who let us use that park. That's right on Main Street at William. And we brought in the city's brand new showmobile,
Oh, boy.
and we had a very diverse bunch of acts ranging from Memphis Soul Spectacular
Sure.
with my old friend Rob Jockel,
Yep.
and the Monty Brothers, the country rock and bluegrass guys from Middlefield. And then we had Orchestra Afinque, the salsa and Latin. And then we had Fiesta del Norte, a mariachi band. And then we had Caribbean Vibe, a
Wow.
steel drum band.
Cool.
And then we topped it off at the August 19th with the Ethel Lee Ensemble. That's a jazz band with Kitty Catherine. Now, Dave remembers Kitty Catherine. She's in her 80s now, but she still sings well. And but in the past, she was known as Connecticut's
Chanteuse.
yeah, I mean, she was kind of like Ella, the Ella Fitzgerald of
Okay.
Connecticut. Just fabulous. And so that's what Middletown and Keisha and I were trying to do is have a broad array of music, as well as bring some of our Middletown artists. Oh, and I forgot, the first concert included the House of Moses, the 2 Moses brothers that are still alive. So so things are happening in Middletown, and we got a pretty good crowd, 100 to 150 people, when they were getting 25 people before. So
Yeah, right. So
this
you're doing it.
and next summer we hope that we'll have a bigger budget so we can do more concerts, have a bigger budget for the bands, and attract more people, and then just get more people to know about it. Because I had a hand in starting the music at the Mansion concerts,
Okay.
the Wadsworth Mansion,
Yep.
years ago. And now they don't even need to promote that. They get 1,000 people.
Yeah, right. Because everybody just knows. Just
They
go.
know that
Yep.
July Wednesdays, and it's such a beautiful venue, and they can bring chairs and a
Sure.
candelabra and,
Sure.
and everything, and have
Sure.
a wonderful experience. So
No matter what's there, because they just know that
Right.
anything that's going to be there is going to be good and interesting. And
yeah, and they're going to
Yeah.
have a nice time even if the band isn't good. So, but they get the biggest crowds when the Coast Guard band plays.
oh, really?
Fabulous.
That's the draw.
Yeah, yeah,
Coast Guard band.
yeah.
They just tear it up.
They that's like a 50-piece orchestra.
Oh, wow.
I think this summer they had
Jeez.
like an 8-piece band that came out of it, but that's the one that it of course it attracts a lot of veterans too.
Sure.
But it's great. That was always the best concert.
Wow.
Good
Pretty-
players.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
That sounds nice. I'm learning about all these things that I didn't know. I'm not from Middletown, but I'll definitely be passing through now. Now that you hear all the different things, I didn't know there was that. I didn't know there was that much going on. That's kind of awesome.
Well, and I've been trying to figure out why, and part of it is we don't have a good newspaper, weekly arts. We don't have the New Haven or Hartford Advocate anymore.
I got you. Sure.
We don't even have the Hartford Current, the Cal, the Thursday thing that they used to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
I see.
I would love it if there was some kind of place that everybody went and you could put all your musical stuff on.
Yep. Well, that's what the Advocate was for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do anything.
Yeah, and it still is up in Springfield. They still have the Valley Advocate. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is one thing coming up this Saturday. I don't know when you're going to broadcast this, but
maybe
or
good chance
upload it. But the Amistad is coming to Middletown this Saturday, October 2nd, and of course that's the ship that the Mende captives during 1839, they rose up, overtook the captains that had taken them from Africa, bringing them over as slaves, and they overtook the ship, and then when they got here, they put them all in jail, but they gave them a court. Have you not seen the movie Amistad by Steven Spielberg? Fabulous movie. But they won. They won their freedom, and so now this ship that they've recreated is traveling around the world, and it's coming to Middletown this Saturday, 11 to 4:30, and they're going to start with some music, and including Nikita Waller, who's Connecticut's troubadour.
Yep, I've worked with her.
Now. Yeah, me too.
Great singer.
She's a great voice. This Saturday, right down at the riverfront.
Cool.
Will be that. So there's
nice,
great things happening downtown Middletown.
Yeah. Hopefully, if we'll figure out how to put links or something. We'll get this up before then. That's awesome. It's really cool. Sounds like you're doing a lot of great things.
We're trying.
Why not?
Yeah.
Gotta do it. That's cool. Figure out the audio end of that studio.
Yeah.
If people start making records over there.
Well, and we do have audio engineers that come in. And nobody's really made a second home out of it. But but I'd love to do that. But at this point, we don't really need it, but it would be welcome.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. All right. Have you ever seen the show? Have you ever watched this?
This podcast?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of it.
Oh, boy. All right. Should I even ask the wacky questions? I have wacky questions to wrap it up.
Okay.
All right. You game? They're not really that wacky.
I hope you're going to give me a count off like a good drummer, though.
I never learned to count. I just start. I don't even count. Well, actually, not a wacky question, but I find this interesting because there's never a right answer, but are you a consistent practicer of your instrument? And if so, is there something in particular you're working on now that you could tell us about?
I have on my calendar to play a little bit of drums every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually in my office with 3 sized pairs of sticks and on a pad to just do some rudiments and do a couple of things to keep my but I don't sit down at a set.
Sure.
But that's one of my goals that I made last week, John.
Yeah.
So thank you for reinforcing that, because why do I said to myself, why do I have this studio? I don't even have a damn drum set up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to fix that.
So my son and I said, holy cow, of course, we got to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, good. That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to work it out. I mean, I'm kind of semi-consistent, but I always think that's interesting. Some people practice every day. Some people don't. It's all
well,
whatever.
When I was at Johnson State College, I can remember I had a dressing room where I had my drums set up and locked up, and I played 3 hours a day, sitting there, sweating my butt off.
Yeah, I know. Those are the days. I remember. I don't know if you were like this. My parents, when I was probably 11 to 15 or 12 to 15 is when that's all I wanted to do. especially during the summer, I had a curfew where I couldn't play later than. They would come in and go, "That's enough," because I would stay in there. I remember to this day, it was like I couldn't play before 10 a.m. and I couldn't play after 8. So I would be like, at 8 o'clock, they would come in and flick the lights, and I would take the needle off the record. Oh man, I was just getting it. Then at the next day, 9:59, boom, right back at it for the handful of years.
Great story. And I remember playing the record right next to me, and
that's exactly how we did it.
I'll tell you a funny story. My mother. And by the way, I just played at my mother's assisted living facility last week with a 4-piece band, Maplewood Orange. Yeah, maybe we'll be there someday, Dave.
Oh boy!
But my drum set was set up in my bedroom above the kitchen.
Okay.
And so when I got home from school, I would bang those drums for an hour or 2 or 3.
Yep.
And my poor mother was in the kitchen, and I think to this day she's lost a few brain cells because of how hard I played those drums way back when.
My mom too should tell you the same thing. Just gave up and started. All right, it's the way it's going to be. Yeah, that's cool. If you could pick a desert island album that you could, what could it be?
Oh my, I'm terrible at that because there's so many things that I'd like. I mean, I guess,
or at least a few that spring to mind.
I guess if I had to pick a rock album, it would be Led Zeppelin 1. Back
that's
when
my
there
favorite
was just
Zeppelin record.
Blues, Gone Wild.
Yep.
And if it was jazz, I guess it would be Kind of Blue, the Miles. That's enough. I go into too
that
many
covers
genres.
it. No, I think that covers it. That covers it.
Well, if we're going to do country, I'd go with something by Kathy Mattea.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, I don't know much about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't know why I think this is interesting. I'll never understand why. Just because it's like gets us out of the thing. But desert island food. What food thing would you be happy? See how I rephrased that question? I finally figured it out. What would you be happy with?
Well, it would have to be a desert island food. Something Jamaican.
No. Not necessarily. So then we go outside reality. No, anything. And also, food with no consequence, because we're perfected beings. You don't have to be careful of what you eat. If you could eat anything.
French.
Oh, nice. Okay. There you go. That's a new one. It's a different one. Cool. All right. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just really thankful to that my old friend Dave, whom we used to play these crazy gigs, weddings and all kinds of stuff. I'm glad he thought of me. And
some of those people are probably still married too. You never know. So,
I wouldn't bet on that, John.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you the real quick story before we go. Pretty much my one and only Dixieland experience. So, Dave, I don't know where you were. Why didn't you call him? But Dave how did it work? There was a frat house over in Wesleyan. He had kind of an inn, and he said to me, "Can you play a gig on Saturday over at the frat house in the afternoon? It's for a homecoming week." And, in the afternoon, 2 to 4 or whatever. I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess so. What kind of music is it? And he goes, I don't know. But somebody was looking for a drummer. There's alumni who are coming back, and they want to play at the frat house. And I'm like, okay.
Wait a minute. When was this?
Maybe 20 years ago. It could have been 15, but yeah.
A long time ago. Okay.
So I'm thinking Louie, not thinking, realizing how long Wesleyan, it could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, but I had no idea. I thought maybe it's kids that graduated last year. I don't know. So I just show up with my rock and roll kit, and it was really funny. I get there, and there's nobody in the joint because a football game's going on across the way. Nobody, and I just kind of, I guess someone told me over there, so I set my drums up over there. And I'm just kind of waiting, and all of a sudden, kind of older guys come in, and they're like, "You the drummer?" And I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, we're going to start to get ready to play. And they start taking out horns. And I'm like, what are we playing? They're like, Dixieland. They didn't tell you? No clue, no idea at all. I just was like, okay, no. And then no sooner I'm like, okay, I'm just thinking to myself, how do I do this? What do I do? Who do I watch? What am I supposed to do? I'm trying to be cool, try to figure it out.
Yep.
And immediately, hundreds of people come across the street and flood into the building. And whoever in the band leader's just like, 1, 2, off we went. And I'm just, okay.
Hold on.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay. First thing, I'm like, play quiet. Just play quiet. And I just kind of stayed out of the way. And I got through it. But it was just funny that he's just like, Dixieland, what did you think? And I'm just, no idea.
John,
I got through it. They didn't kill me.
I now have that gig.
I bet you do.
For the last 5 years.
There you go.
I've played for the Saturday of the
graduation
graduation
so I lost
weekend.
So they didn't like me. Damn.
I mean, those guys probably have died.
No.
But still, I mean, that's
It was
one of
really
the beautiful
cool.
things about Dixieland. And in fact, there was a Wesleyan professor that was in that band for a while. Wiss Comfort was his name.
I don't remember anybody, but
he played trombone. He had just picked up the trombone 10 years ago, but he was really good.
Yeah.
He became good. He was a mathematics professor.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant, famous.
Yeah.
And then, and he was in a couple of bands with me, but then he died. And in his will,
Excuse me, sorry.
he said, I want to have a second line funeral. And so they did a memorial, not on a graduation, separate.
Sure.
They did a memorial in that memorial church there. And when they came out, we were then marching. So I had a bass drum and
Sure.
I was a snare drummer. And so we played the dirge,
Sure.
Slower Walk with Thee.
Yep.
And his son and daughter both had the red sash. And we walked halfway to the student center. And then halfway there, the two of them turned around to the band and said, hit it. And we went into When the Saints Go
Sure.
Marching In.
Sure.
And that was just about the best funeral I can ever remember.
Yeah. Something worth dying for, really, when you get down to it. That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. That's cool. That's wild.
That's what playing's about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Trevor Davis Jr., thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, John. It's so great to meet.
Yeah, how about that? How about that? See? Making friends, getting things done. Yeah, we'll have to hang out. I got to come over and see the spot.
You both have to come over and see the studio.
Yeah, I got to play the Black Beauty.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trevor Davis Jr. was
Thank
here
you, John.
live and in person. Here it comes. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, downtown Portland. Come over to Bridge Start, looking left. If you are interested in hosting your very own podcast right here in our studio, listen after. There will be some important info telling you how to do that. Thanks a lot for listening. I appreciate it. See you next time.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.